A lot of our education is beating this out of us. That don't think you're so special. You're not the center of the world. You're just another person. Don't think too much of yourself. But in a way, I am the center of the world, Pracheta.
I had this solid belief that I will die at 35. I don't know where it came from.
Somebody said the universe is not made of atoms. It's made of stories. Renunciation is not painful. Renunciation is blissful. Life is difficult. And neurosis is the denial of necessary suffering.
Do we really live in parallel universes all the time?
I'm spiritual and I'm materialistic. I'm playful and I'm serious. I'm deeply wise and I'm the most common fool. I'm the most naive, silly, stupid fellow. Right? I'm all of that at once.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of The Ultimate Inquiry. I'm your host, Pracheta Budhwar. Our guest today is someone who's known for his simplified approach to self-inquiry, who is often a friend then a teacher to his spiritual community. Someone who plays board games quite competitively while being super flexible in questioning his own understanding on a regular basis. Nithya Shanti is an internationally acclaimed spiritual teacher of conscious living. He completed an MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur and then worked in the corporate sector for a while. Despite a promising career, he was drawn to pursue his spiritual quest further. In 2002, he was ordained as a Buddhist monk. With the blessings of his teachers, he stepped out of the robes in early 2008. Since then, he shares his learnings through retreats and talks with organizations and audiences worldwide. Nithya, welcome to the Ultimate Inquiry.
Thank you, Pracheta. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So why don't we just start with your name, Nithya Shanti? Not many people really get to choose their name, and it's such a profound one. How and when you started showing up as Nithya Shanti and dropped your birth name?
Yeah, when I became a monk, then the tradition I was in, they would give you a different name. And it's one of the ways of signifying or symbolizing that you've made a transition in your life. And so the name I was given was Jnana Santi, which is a Pali word, which means the one who knows peace. So that was my name for my time. I lived as a monk for about 6 years. So for that time, that was my name. And as we might discuss later on, there was a phase where I realized that, okay, that time of being a monk and the learnings were feeling quite complete. And not that the learnings are ever complete, but just that experience felt quite complete. That particular format felt quite complete. And when I came back to what we call normal life, although there's nothing normal about it, then I had the choice to go back to my original name. But something like, that felt like an old identity that like it felt so strange, like clothes you're wearing after, 6 years, suddenly they don't fit so well anymore.
Yeah.
So that's how I changed my name. And so this is a chosen name, but this is also my legal name now. But some people know me as my old name, Harsh.
And how has been your transition from being a monk to getting back to life? Were you still friends with your old college mates, or has something drastically shifted in your being?
Well, there was a time I would make a great effort to be in touch with people. I think I used to write a lot of letters, write a lot of emails. I was really one of the people who made an effort to remember birthdays and be in touch with people. I think I used to send out at least 100 Christmas cards, handwritten minimum, maybe more. And those were the days when I would actually physically go and post them and get stamps and everything. So there was a time when I was very much like that. And when I became a monk, then of course it's, perhaps today we'll discuss about the idea of renunciation and what that's about.
Yeah.
But there was a sense of like, it's not like I'm trying to get away from everybody, because if people wanted to contact me, they could. It just wasn't that easy because I didn't have email. I didn't have a phone. So then they would have had to literally go to a post office and send me a letter, right? International. I was living in Sri Lanka and Thailand. So, and so it's fascinating, just that little effort to have to go to a post office, get a stamp, because I think the time I became a monk, we'd kind of lost the habit, most of us, of doing that kind of thing. So it came down to less than 5 people, I think, for my large circle of friends and colleagues and whatever. came down to less than 5 people who stayed in touch. And not that it's a bad thing. It's like, and I can understand, like, they're wondering, what do you even talk to a monk about? Like, is he even gonna be interested? But and it was so simple and nice. So I kept in touch with my family. I would write a letter once a week or once in 2 weeks. I'd send some kind of an update, and then a few friends would keep in touch. Right. And in a way, it was very simplifying. It was like a natural process of simplification. That okay, those who want to keep in touch will keep in touch. We don't have to keep in touch because that's the social norm.
Yeah. So it was quite effortless for you to kind of drop out what was not essential. Like, I won't say not essential friends, but in a way it was very organic, kind of.
And it happens, right? Our interests change or our lifestyle changes, our belief systems change. Yeah. Then it's kind of a funny thing. Like, you're hanging out with these friends, but they're talking about things that you're not that interested in anymore. Or they're doing things you're not that interested in anymore. So then sometimes it's like, okay, now do I pluck myself out of there, or do I just not show interest? Or like, so in my case, it happened kind of slightly abruptly, but in a way it was very healthy. I have no regrets. I've never actually thought about it much. Yeah. And you mentioned when you were introducing me that I'm in a way a kind of a spiritual friend to many people. It's a different kind of friendship. It's not the usual let's hang out, let's party kind of friendship. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and I do that with some close people. I do hang out with them. But usually the context in which I connect with people is more about asking some deeper questions about, like, so what's it all about, and why are we doing what we're doing, and what's important, and the deeper question is, who am I, what is this?
Yeah.
So that's how it's been. Yeah.
Lovely. So Nithya, let's get a glimpse of your childhood. Like, what was it like for you growing up? Like, were you a naughty kid? Take us to that time, please.
I don't know if I was a very naughty kid. I was, I think, in some ways, quite a normal kid. I do remember struggling to find a group. I think sometimes you just find your group of friends, you stick with them. And I remember kind of floating from one group to the next and never feeling that I 100% belong to any one group. And then I used to wonder, is something wrong with me that, I don't have one, like everybody seems to have one set of friends. I seem to kind of wander from friend to friend. Bit something like a gypsy in a way. That's something I remember. I also remember kind of struggling to define myself, because some kids are really good at sports, some are very good in academics, some are good at extracurriculars, and I kind of was okay in all of them, nothing particular. I just wonder, okay, so I'm not really standing out. I'm not like extremely good at any one thing. It led to a kind of doubt. Then, okay, so what am I? What is this about? What am I about? So those are kind of the phases that I went through, and that's what's coming to in response to your question right now. Yeah.
Is there any particularly challenging aspect of your childhood that kind of defined you in a way?
Must have been several, I'm sure, but there was a few. I think one was that we moved around quite a bit, so I actually ended up going to at least 5 or 6 different schools in my schooling, with a lot of change in a way. And also, my father died when I was about 7 years old. He had a sudden heart issue, and they couldn't save him, and that was quite a that kind of really made me look at life differently. Okay, suddenly my father's gone, and my mother had to take over, and so definitely that somewhere it imprinted the sense that, oh, life is, you can't take it for granted, in that sense that things can change very suddenly. And I had a suspicion that I also may not live very long somehow. I had a suspicion I'll not outlive my dad. Actually, my dad died in his 30s, so I thought even I'll probably not live that long. So some kind of maybe an urgency or a seriousness kind of entered my life, and you mentioned board games. So maybe I'm recovering my childhood back after having gotten really serious really early.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely one of the formative experiences.
I almost had goosebump, Nitya, because I don't know for what reasons unknown, I had this solid belief that I will die at 35. I don't know where it came from. Funny how we tell ourselves stories. That is a really interesting segue to what I was meaning to ask you next, because storytelling has been such a great part of your teaching. And I wonder, those seeds of storytelling kind of sown early in your childhood as well?
They might have been. I do remember noticing this later when I began teaching, that people relate to stories a lot better than concepts. So we can give a concept, like, for example, it's great to be grateful. It's important to start your day and your day with gratitude. That's one thing. Or we can give an example of someone who practices gratitude, or tell a story about gratitude. Like one story I like to tell is of a person who gets he gets a glass full of water, he puts a spoonful of salt, and he gives his friend and says, drink this. He says, how can I drink this? You put a spoonful of salt. He tries to drink it. He says, too salty, can't drink it. Then his friend gets a bucket of water, puts a spoonful of salt. Now drink it. Hey, now it's a lot more bearable. Let's go outside. There's a lake. And he puts a spoonful of salt in the lake. And now try to taste it. No salt. What is gratitude in this? The spoonful of salt represents problems. We all have problems. But if the amount of gratitude is less, it becomes intolerable, it becomes poisonous, right? You only have a glass full of gratitude. You have a bucket full of gratitude, it's a little more bearable. And then you have a lake full of gratitude, suddenly you don't even notice. Now, chances are you'll remember that story a lot better than the concept of be grateful, be thankful, we should be thankful. So I discovered it somewhere along the way that in my work, that first of all, is more enjoyable. We all enjoy telling stories and hearing stories, and it's more memorable. And when I meet people months or years later, they'd remember stories and not concepts. And I think that's how storytelling kind of became part of what I do. Also, I noticed myself, my biggest shifts happened through a shift in the story, through the story that I told about myself or my life or what I'm doing. The story we all tell, like even right now, we're having a podcast. There's some story that you're telling, I'm telling in our mind. What is this about? What are we trying to achieve here? And often those stories are unconscious. So for me, being a master storyteller is to, first of all, tell stories that are uplifting, inspiring, engaging, expanding our horizons, and then to know that it's all a story, actually. So even our fondest ideas are actually stories. Somebody said the universe is not made of atoms, it's made of stories.
Yeah, I won't argue with that. We all are really good at telling stories, isn't it? Our ideas of ourselves, the world around. And oftentimes, these stories shape our own current experience. And what I've observed, the stories we tell ourselves are often more painful than the real experience or event. So, in a way, we are creating suffering without knowing it. Can we really tell a different story and be more at ease? Is it really that simple?
It is. It is literally that simple. The quality of our lives is the quality of the stories we are telling. You're telling disastrous stories, you're going to have a disastrous experience. Negative stories, negative experience. Positive story, positive experience. Miraculous story, life becomes miraculous. And then go one step beyond that and realize it's all a story. So who are you without the stories? So similar to what you're saying, this was a realization for me as well, that reality is always kinder than the stories we tell.
That's a very profound one to remember. Reality is always kinder than the stories we tell ourselves.
So this comes from Byron Katie, one of my teachers. And the question she gives us, she gives many questions, but one of the main questions is, who am I without all the stories that I'm telling? And you'll instantly discover there's a kind of simplicity there, there's a kind of ease, there's a kind of presence. But all that's hypnotizing us, like you said, we are all actually are very good storytellers. If nobody else buys our stories, we buy our stories. And anytime you're emotionally activated, you're telling a story based on resistance. I shouldn't be like this. You shouldn't be like this. Life shouldn't be like this. God shouldn't be like this. Government shouldn't be like this. So something shouldn't be the way it is. Oh, really? How did you know? Are you really that smart? You know how it's supposed to be? You're just going with your opinion, aren't you? Would you be brave enough to question your opinion instead of expecting the whole world should change to match your idealized idea of how things should be? So that's the courageous process.
Yeah, you just touched on something very important. It takes courage to really question all the beliefs. We'll touch more on some more questions as we further go along. I had one before we go into very deep questions. Like when you really came back to live in the modern life, did it really flow easily, or did you find something really difficult to kind of reconcile with?
I remember it being mostly a flow. I mean, of course, there'll be moments where you get disappointed or upset about something, but overall, I've experienced it to be pretty smooth. Actually, I don't remember being upset for longer than a few minutes or maybe a few hours, really. So I think the whole training in meditation, which is not about controlling the mind, it's more about witnessing what's happening inside, outside, and not that you never get hung up, but you realize, okay, that's what's going on now. There is some resistance arising. There is some attachment arising. There is some conviction arising, some assumption arising about how I'm supposed to be, how others are supposed to be, how life is supposed to be. So in that sense, the challenges, the suffering has been a very good teacher, and it's not a problem. It's part of the process. How do you know, for example, when you go to a restaurant, how do you know you like the food? You taste it, you have it, and then certain things you're not sure. Like, I don't like that dish. Or how do you, when you go to buy new clothes? How do you know? Because you try it and this is not feeling so good. It's not fitting so good. You just know, right? When you got nice glasses on, you must have tried on several glasses before you chose this set. And how do you know? People say, that looks good. And you say, no, I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah.
So you just know, right? So it's something like that. So I think when we come to that place of knowing and we rest more there, as opposed to, knowledge is different from knowing. Knowledge is like stuff you stored and accumulated. But knowing is alive. Like in this interview also, as we're going along, you may have some several questions, but eventually you'll rely on your knowing more than the knowledge. You'll ask the question that feels right. And I'll answer in a way that feels right. And at some point I'll know this feels complete now and I'll stop. So you're operating from knowing. So that's the intelligence that takes over. And the one who suffers is the personality. It's the illusory self, you could say, right? That's the one who suffers. Deep down, there's no, like the ocean on the top, there's lots of movement, but deep down, miles below, I imagine it's pretty still. I imagine it's not that much going on deep down within the ocean. The surface is very turbulent. So these repeated dives deep into one's being equips us to be more steadfast and balanced and equanimous with whatever comes up in our life. And not that we never get disturbed, but that doesn't define us.
Right. And maybe those disturbances will be far and few in between.
I would say, yeah, I can definitely say that before I became a monk and the lifestyle I had, the way I lived, and even especially before I learned meditation. So there's been a big change from before I learned meditation to after to then, over the years, meditating, practicing some of these things, becoming a monk, coming back. And even then, so the journey continues. I like to say the journey is endless and the destination is now.
Yes. Love it. Love it. You said something just now which really touched me. We all know this, that knowledge is many a times borrowed, right? Like, you've heard from somewhere, you read about it, and it's kind of a cool thing to kind of quote to your friends. And, eventually you know a lot of things, but knowing is different. So there comes a point, there was a time in my life when I literally had to empty myself of all that I've accumulated over the years, and really just let there be space for whatever needs to arise to arise. So could you say a little bit more about the tendency that usually humans have is to acquire a lot of knowledge, and many a times, unfortunately, people also kind of live through their lives thinking, I have done a PhD, or I have to have this degree, I have read all the Vedas, I'll quote you from this and that, but they haven't really touched the essence.
Yeah, that can happen. And I think it does happen. I think I would have also been on that path if it wasn't for life took me down a particular path where there was a willingness to look beyond just intellectual answers and to really taste it. I think many of us are just content to look at the menu and just be happy. How, what a nice menu. And we never get to the stage of actually eating the food, right? So I was lucky. And I don't blame people because our whole education has been so intellectual. But yeah, if life has that in store for us, that we will look below the surface. And once you taste that, then see, I'll tell you what the taste is a taste of things happening by themselves. The reason we accumulate knowledge is we assume we are the one who's thinking. I am the one who's thinking. I am the one who's doing. I am the one who's deciding. I am the one who's learning. I am the one who's choosing. I choose to learn this. I choose to explore this. Oh no, I forgot this. I shouldn't have forgotten this. Oh, I did such a great job with that. The sense of I, this thread of I is running through everything. And in meditation, the way I define meditation is one of the ways is it's the relaxed recognition that everything is happening by itself. So every time we dip into that, the sense of doership, the sense of I'm the one who's controlling things, making things happen, that story starts to get dislodged. Now, you can call it grace, you can call it flow, you can call it whatever you like. But there is I like to think of it as a bigger intelligence than our intellect. That starts to take over. And compared to that, our knowledge is like a little pea or something. Like it's a tiny little stone compared to a mountain. It's a tiny little leaf compared to a forest. The Buddha once said to the monks, he held up a handful of leaves. He said, "Monks, what is more, the leaves in the palm of my hand or the leaves in this great forest?" So the monk said, "What kind of question is that?" So one of them said, "Lord, the leaves in your hand are very few. We can even count them. But the leaves in this great forest, there are very many. It would be very hard to count them." So the Buddha says, "Just so, monks. What I know is like the leaves in the forest. But what I share with you is the leaves in the palm of my hand. Because that's all you need to know that." So this is a path of direct experience. And what I've come to realize is the purpose of knowledge is to realize the limitation of knowledge. The purpose of thought is to realize the limitation of thought. So thought is not bad. Just realize that thought's not gonna, like reading the menu is not gonna give you the satisfaction you're looking for.
Yeah. Reading the menu won't give you the taste of the dish, right?
It
Yeah.
won't. And don't expect it to give that to you. If you keep expecting it to get, you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. And then glimpse after glimpse after glimpse. So we're very fortunate, those of us who've had a chance to dip below the conceptual world and taste the root. You have actually no choice now. You think you're choosing. All this time you thought you were choosing. You're like, oh my God, I'm not choosing. Life is deciding. Life is choosing. Right. In fact, we were talking earlier about my childhood and things. It almost sounds like, to me, it sounds like, yeah, I'm telling you all of this, but I didn't decide that. I mean, these series of things happened. You know, something happened to my father. I got interested in certain things. You know, life took me in a certain direction. It just happened. It just happened. And I can't take ownership of that. I can't help. You can't help being yourself. I can't help being myself. And there's something so beautiful about that. We let everything be. We let ourselves be.
Yeah. Often the most profound and long-lasting things are simple, aren't they? Like we unnecessarily complicate it. Teachers kind of show up in various shape and form as well to nudge us into the direction, and those teachers could be form of a book, or look at someone's video. It could be, of course, a teacher. It has happened to me in some of my very confusing times. I would just open a book, and the page that opens up kind of answers whatever I've been struggling for 2 days with. It's just fascinating how it kind of unfolds. So yeah, Nithya, any anecdote you would like to share where you were like, oh my God, even I get goosebumps?
Yeah, one can talk about experiences. However, I want to use this question more to point to something more obvious. Not a peak experience, not a moment of great synchronicity, but something more normal, more everyday. So, for example, noticing, and everyone who's listening to this, I'd like you to notice that in this moment, if you just look down, you'll probably see your legs, you'll see your chest, you'll see your hands. But you can't see your own face. How fascinating is that? You look around, instead of a face, you have a room. There's a room instead of a head. Now, this for me is it's more than an aha moment, it is a kind of aha moment, but it's more than that feeling of goosebumps and things like that. This is a very solid recognition that, wow, I don't look the way I'm told I look, right? I'm told I am 2 legs, 2 hands, and a face. But in my direct experience, I'm not. In my direct experience here, there's no face, there's a space. And this may seem like a childish thing, and in a way it is, and children live in that space. But actually, it has very deep implications. It is realizing for the first time, perhaps, that the way other people see me is not the way I experience myself. And a lot of our education is beating this out of us, that don't think you're so special, you're not the center of the world, you're just another person, don't think too much of yourself. But in a way, I am the center of the world, Pracheta. Wherever I go, I am the center. Everything else organizes itself around me. I am the center of the world. Not in some narcissistic way, but in a very obvious, practical way. I always am. I'm the
Yeah.
center of the world. And everything everything that affects me, I'll always, like, for example, why have you invited me today? Because chances are certain incidents in the past, we may have had interactions, you might have attended something with me, and something touched you, something resonated with you. So it's so personal, right? And that's why you invited me today. And this podcast also, there's something meaningful about this. It aligns with what's important to you, what your values are. So this orientation of looking, really taking this seriously, it's not, when I close my eyes, the world disappears. When I open my eyes, the world reappears. We have been miseducated to not, we thought that's subjective. The world is subjective. When I sleep, the world disappears. When I open my eye, the world reappears. Through newspapers, my idea of the world gets warped. Through other teachings and books, I have a different idea of the world, right? Through every interaction, it affects the colors, the way I look at the world, right? My parents, my culture, my upbringing. In fact, I would be very honest to say that I'm not seeing the world objectively, and no one ever has. No one ever has. We're just stumbling about. So it is subjective. I would not deny the objective, but to not de-emphasize or decline or push away the subjective. The subjective is so important. And so then when you honor that and you come to this first person experience, and many very interesting things start happening here. So when I walk down a street, for example, in my direct experience, I'm not walking down the street is moving through me.
Right.
When I drive a car, for example, the normal idea is I'm driving from point A to point B, but in my direct experience, the road is moving through me.
Right.
Right? When I stand on a bridge and I face the direction from which the river is coming, I'm swallowing the river. I'm swallowing the river. When I'm eating food, I'm consuming something and I'm making it nothing. This something becomes nothing. I'm feeding the nothingness. I'm feeding the emptiness. So then suddenly some of the deep, you mentioned the Vedas earlier. What's said in the Vedas, what's said in the Upanishads, what's said in the Gita, what's said in the other scriptures, the Zen scripture, the Buddhist scriptures, the Sufi scriptures, it suddenly starts to make sense in a way it never made sense before. So I would say that then becomes the root of endless ahas and endless what you call goosebump moments. Today there was a nice poem my wife Rupal shared with me by Mary Oliver, Instructions for Living. Pay attention, be willing to be astonished,
Yeah.
tell what you see, right? So these are great instructions for living. When you pay attention, suddenly, like you said, the veil starts to come apart. You start seeing things for the first time. You're astonished, and now we can talk about it.
Yeah. Mary Oliver has had a influence on me in many ways. Some of her poems are just so deeply spiritual in some way. Like, one of her poems, it calls out for you to kind of really look at what's going on with the world and you. And she says, "What are you going to do with your one wild, precious life?" And that has really kind of nudged me now and then. What are you really going to do with your one wild, precious life? Yeah, beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about stereotypes or conceptions about what it means to be spiritual. So the typical idea of a spiritual teacher, one has to be a certain way to be spiritual, to be a guru. However, in India, there have been some really great spiritual teachers, such as Lahiri Mahasaya, Nisargadatta Maharaj, who really held on to their household duties. What's been your experience? Like, is renunciation really necessary in the quest for self realization?
So, in order for us to have this conversation, you've probably had to renounce maybe watching a movie or being with some other friends. You had to renounce. You had to let go in order to pay attention to this conversation, right? I may have some other things in my life. I had to renounce that. Let go of that. Put it down. So now, if you want to know the ultimate truth of life, you have to be willing to look with fresh eyes. So we can't just take on what we've heard from other people or what we've experienced in the past. We can't just take on assumptions about the future. We have to look with very clear eyes at this, what is happening here. Now, just try this with me, and including the people who are either hearing this or watching this. If you can see me, then just look at me. And if you can hear me, then just hear what I'm saying. In order to hear this, in order to see this, don't you have to forget everything you've ever heard or seen in your life? Like, Pracheta, I can't see you. You're on my screen right now, but I can't see you unless I forget myself. As long as even a little bit of me is there, I'm actually not looking at you. I'm looking at what I want from you or expect from you or hope from you. But only when that's not there, that's when I truly see you. So I have to empty myself in order to receive even this experience, what to even speak of deeper truths about life. In order for me to experience anything, I need to empty myself. So when you truly want to get the depth of life and you want to ask deeper questions like, so who am I before I was born? Who will I be after I die? Who is having this experience right now? These are deeper questions, which normal answers can't really acknowledge fully, can't get there. So then you have to be willing to renounce even more deeply, renounce all your beliefs, all your thoughts. And it's a wonderful thing. Like one of the things I do in my workshops, and we can all do it right now, is I invite everybody, including you, to just be a little bit more present with me. And you don't have to close your eyes. Eyes can be open. Just be more present. Just be more here. And then I ask people, in this case, I'm going to ask you. So, Pracheta, in the last few moments, did you think of your name?
No.
Did you think of your age?
No.
Did you think of your gender?
No.
Did you think of your religion?
Not really.
Did you think of your family members?
No.
Nationality?
Nope.
Did you think of how much money is in the bank?
No.
Do you have any pets? Do you have any dogs or cats or anything? Did you think of?
Not right now.
But you don't have, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to say it in a different way, right? Okay, but let me ask you first. You didn't think of that, but were you okay in the last few moments?
Yes.
You were fine, right? Now I'm going to say it in a different way. I took away your name, I took away your age, I took away your gender, I took away your nationality, took away your religion, took away your family, took away your money, but you were okay. That's fascinating. Normally we say we can't be okay. These are all things like this is the biggest fear, right? What if I lose everything? What if I lose my family? What if I lose my money? What if I lose my job? What if I lose my reputation? What if I lose my religion? What if I lose all these things? Oh my God, this is the scariest thing of all. But we took all that away from you and you were just fine. This is not an accident. This is a very deep recognition. Renunciation is not painful. Renunciation is blissful. Life demands. Try taking a breath and not leaving it, or leaving a breath and not taking the next one. And you'll instantly find how painful that is. Life demands that you let go.
Right.
So our pain is coming from holding on to things and people and situations. There's a lovely saying, I like this very much. It takes nothing to be happy. It takes something to be unhappy. So in other words, renunciation, which is nothing, which is like nothing is needed, nothing is required, is happiness. And holding on is unhappiness.
Wow. Hmm.
And there's a deeper, like we can go on, like sometimes renunciation still seems negative. Oh my God, how can I let go and all that? But just keep it like this, that to the extent you and I are enjoying this moment, we're enjoying this conversation, we're enjoying this flow of it, we're enjoying the state of our body and the place we're in. In other words, to the extent which you and I like where we are, like what's happening, like what's here, we're quite at peace, we're quite happy.
Hmm.
And to the extent you and I don't like what's going on, how it's going on, don't like our thoughts, don't like our body, don't like what's happening, then we are upset, we're uncomfortable, we want to get out of here. So then renunciation has another deeper meaning, which is want what you have. Don't want what you don't have. It's not about becoming a monk. Want what you have, don't want what you don't have.
Right.
This is very, very strange because we've been so conditioned. Oh, we have to be ambitious, we have to achieve. All right, then want the current level of ambition that you have. Want that. Then don't compare, oh, my friend is more ambitious. He started a startup. He's gone and become so successful. He earns 10 times what I earn. Well, that you don't have that, right? You don't have that level of, you also have some ambition. You're not going to completely, you have been given, you have an inbuilt amount of whatever it is, persistence, discipline, ambition. Want that. As opposed to wanting somebody else's settings. I call these settings. You have settings, I have settings. settings for how much we eat, how much we sleep, how much we read, how much we whatever. We all have settings, right? Want your settings, like your settings. I would even say fall in love with your settings. This desire to have somebody else's settings. This is part of the problem. Then we keep wishing, oh, I wish I was more like this one, wish I was more like that one. Be as you are. Now, this is naturalness. This is effortless. This is spontaneous. This is easy and organic for you. Natural, effortless, spontaneous. So, coming back to what you were saying, this is what my invitation to people is don't be spiritual. That would be a mistake. When I first got into spirituality, I began wearing khadi kurtas. I began, I really simplified my life, and I had a Ganesha on my, like, these are my ideas. I had a Ganesha statue on my study table. I would do the Ganesha mantra. I would keep a little bag of beads with me. Like, this is very cliched, stereotypical ideas of being spiritual. And perhaps you have to go through that at some point.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, real idea of being spiritual is be as you are. Be as, or I would even take just be. Don't be this, don't be that. Don't even be spiritual. Just be. And that's natural for you. That's normal for you, natural for you, inherent in you. You're expressing your inherent true nature, the way nature is showing up for you. And there's beauty in that. There's wisdom in that. And it doesn't have to match the way it showed up for me. Now there's no guilt tripping and you need to eat like me, behave like me, speak like me, make the same spending decisions as me. You don't have to do that.
And there's a reason why nature has made each one of us unique. So, there is some very deep intelligence in that, and to question and kind of beat ourselves. It's funny now that you are talking about it, Nitya, because many a times, and I've seen this with my friends, like there was a time when there was a set of people who are very in a materialistic way, going after X kind of life. And then you get on the spiritual path, and then you're looking at Y kind of life, because then there's the the new settings you kind of aspire for. I like the idea of your settings. So yeah, thank you so much. It's really that simple to just be. Doesn't take much. Since you just spoke about stereotypes, I would I would ask you, because you have broken a lot of stereotypes of what a spiritual guru or teacher is like, how you show up. Another thing I really like about you is you are very honest about saying that I understood it 10 years ago and it doesn't hold true anymore, right? And you have shown up in different ways, as you said, like khadi kurta pajama, and then might be in t-shirts, and you'll joke about your life, and you've been very open about your relationships. It's been a breath of fresh air, really, to see a teacher kind of owning up the ups and downs of your romantic relationships. Would you say something about it? Like, I'm sure you haven't tried to break the stereotypes, but you kind of break stereotypes just by being you. And you and I, like the essence of us, is not really held by ideas. Hence, it's supposed to change and flow, and it is something today and won't be the same, I don't know, 2 years later. So it's only natural and, to show up differently in various parts of our life. But we kind of hold on to this idea very tight, even for spiritual gurus. Sorry, it's a bit convoluted question, but hope it reaches you, and, if you have anything to say about it.
Yeah, I would again just say, be natural. And if it works for you to be by yourself, like I actually enjoyed my monk life. I had no relationships of a romantic kind, of course, when I was a monk. And then when I came out of that, then quite organically, I did get into a relationship which went on for about a year. I actually really enjoyed that. I learned so much about myself and about love. And I thought I was just, practicing love for everybody. But I couldn't handle love for one person. Okay, there's something off about this. So I think wherever we are, it's the right place. And this has been one of the discovery that there's no mistakes, no mistakes. If you have a desire to be in some kind of a relationship or companionship or whatever it is, marriage, wonderful. And if that's not coming, then wonderful. But there's no right or wrong. There's no one is better than the other. There is plenty of opportunity in every life situation to, like you mentioned earlier, this, that nature has made us also diverse. The view out is always diverse. The view out, there are many things to see, many things to hear, many things to smell, taste, touch, many thoughts, many memories. The view out is always diverse. But the view in is always a singularity. It's always I am seeing, I am hearing, I am smelling, I am tasting, I am touching, right? So the I am. So in a way, and yes, some of us will maybe have more than one relationship in our life. Some of us will have only one relationship. But even in that one relationship, you will see different faces of that person over the years, and your alignment with them will increase or decrease. Your affinity with them will increase or decrease. So in a way, it's the same person has many faces, right? Always diversity, but always I am. I am seeing, I am liking, I am agreeing, I'm not agreeing, I can't bear that, this is unacceptable. So what is this I? I think that's what I'd like to take this conversation towards. The story of my relationship journey may be different from somebody else's. And also at different points in societal life, something the more acceptable, something the less acceptable. That's just a toss of the coin. We don't know in the time that we are born, the culture that we are born, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. But here, this one that knows, this one that sees, if we can use all of that to come back to the sense of I, the I am, which is just a present. The I am is just a word for a sense of individuated presence. I am seeing. Another way of saying this is, who is taking delivery of this experience? Who is seeing right now? Well, I am. Who's hearing right now? Well, I am. Yeah, but what is that? If you get an answer, it's the wrong answer, because there cannot be an answer to this question. There will just be a silent presence, a silent knowing. And it's not a thing. This is why we meditate, because we're so caught up in things. Even roles become things. I'm a mother, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, I'm a citizen, I'm a global citizen, I'm conscious, whatever. These all become things, right? And we meditate to realize, oh, I'm not a thing, just am. I just am. It just is. It just is. So like this, there's the disillusion, there's the disillusion, there's the disillusion. And like I said earlier, the sense of doership, I am deciding, I am choosing. No, we're not. It's just happening. Your hair are just growing. Your stomach will growl after a while, you want to eat, you get hungry. Then after a while, you get tired, you want to go for a walk. You're tired of sitting indoors, you want to go. Then after a while, too much outside, let's go indoors. Too lonely, call a friend. Too tired, go to sleep. You can't help it. You can't help it. It'll just happen. What creates trouble is not the happening, it's the way it should be happening. And the way it should be happening for you, not just for me, but for you.
Yeah.
Getting offended and getting insisting, resisting. So in that sense, all experiences, whether in relationship or not, they're all a powerful mirror for us to recognize where we're getting hung up, the stories that we are telling. And so I've really appreciated all the experiences I've had as a monk since then, the different things I've had chance to explore and being connected with people in different ways. It's been very, very enriching.
Yeah. Flavors of life, so to say, right?
Yeah.
Mm. So, Nitya, I'm getting a two-pronged question, but let me just ask the related to senses first, and then we go deeper into the I am. Like, what's the secret of kind of enjoying the senses of being totally human and really not being caught up in the drama? How do you like enjoy it all or get all the flavors, the juice of it, and yet not really be, into it, so to say?
We all knew this, right? As kids, you notice kids, every taste, every rainfall, small, like meeting a friend, they're so excited. They're just there. They're fully there.
Yeah.
So sensory experiences by themselves are just very lively. They're just, and they're juicy and they're intense actually. But what happens over a period of time, like I know that, I've read that. I know that person. I know that, I know what that's about. Oh, I've been to that restaurant. And so, and so we're like, oh, I know that. And so then, And so we often now have teenagers who are like, been there, done that. They're already bored because,
Wow.
yeah, because already what many, maybe in our generation, it took 30, 40 years to experience. Now they've experienced by their early 20s or even before that, they've experienced. So like, what new is there?
Yeah.
I remember teaching in a village school, and everything I said, the kids were hanging on to my word. They were so enthusiastic. And then teaching in a city school, it was so hard to get their attention. They were just not interested. Like, who's this guy? What's he going to tell us? What new thing is he going to tell us?
Right.
So then in a village school where they were exposed to less things, they were far more energized. They were far more, their eyes were filled with energy. They were open. They were enthusiastic. And the kids in cities who've kind of been there, done that, traveled and experienced everything, they're like, yeah, what's the big deal? So it's not the senses themselves, it's the layer that we put on it of how it's supposed to be, how it should be, how it could be. There are three, Eckhart Tolle talks about the three gates to the present, which is sensory experience. So like I said earlier, in order to see me, you have to forget everything you've seen. In order to hear me, you have to forget everything you've heard. Same with smell, taste, touch. Sensory experience gets us into the present. And the second gate to the present moment is feelings. Not pleasant, unpleasant. It's just whatever the tonality of the feel, not this emotion, that emotion, just the feeling as the feeling. And what I like to add to that is the direct experience of vibration, the direct experience of change. Notice the vibrational quality of everything. Those are some of the deepest moments. Like some people, they remember going to a concert and being deeply moved, all right? Or reading a book and being deeply moved. Why? Because it's a vibrational experience. The first kiss is a very deeply moving experience. Why? It's it's got a vibrational quality to it. Feelings, right? So fully feeling our feelings, that's the other gate to the present moment. Not thinking about it, not judging them, just feeling it. A lot of what I do with people is just, okay, so feel it. Okay, you told me the story, but now feel it. So now what's happening? Whether it's heavy in the chest, or it's tight in the belly, or there's a bitterness in your mouth, or there's a pain in your head. All right, so feel it. Be here with me. Feel it. What's going to happen? Fully feeling our feelings is healing. And the third one is deeper, which maybe people who are hearing this for the first time are going to be unsure, but this is the powerful one. The third gate to the present moment is being conscious of being conscious, or being aware of being aware. Noticing that noticing is happening right now. Instead of assuming Nithya is speaking to Pracheta, it's more true to say life is speaking to life. Something is happening. Things just are the way they are. That's dehypnotizing. So these are some of the ways, and like I noticed it when I first began meditating, that when I get up from the meditation cushion, colors would be brighter, sounds would be clearer, tastes would have a whole other dimension to them. The same music I heard after meditation had a whole other depth to it than before meditation. Why? Because that's what attention does. Attention makes everything come into, like, talk about television, the old television versus today's, I don't even know what the highest resolution is, 4K, 8K. The highest resolution TV you can imagine, that's what meditation does. It just makes everything come alive. Colors, taste, smell. So in that sense, you enjoy life. Because you're not expecting anything more. It just is. And the isness is very, very rich, very deep. And talking about Mary Oliver again, she says, wouldn't God be disappointed if we are not dazzled at least 10 times a day?
Yeah. So there's a kind of a childlike curiosity that that is maintained. You're not so caught up in the idea of a grown-up person to show up like this. When all those start dissolving, you're ever more present to the experience, to life itself, and you really embrace it with your arms without like holding tight on it, so to say. Because oftentimes we're very good at holding on to things we like people, ideas, situation, places, and the holding on creates this tension and stress, which is very prevalent. uh, However, in my experience, when you start unburdening, untangling, it just brings us so much ease. Life gets so enjoyable. However, unfortunately, it's not accessible to many people. So, Nitya, would you say, more about how can this ease be more accessible to more people who are listening to us or seeing us today?
Pracheta, it happens when it happens. So, like Katie says, suffering is necessary until it's not.
Right.
Right. So you're right. It's thoroughly available, but just because it's available doesn't mean it's accessible.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
right? It's always available. Like this morning, I had a session, and the session was about the happiness of being, and I talked about wanting, and I began by asking people, "What do you want?" And you ask people, "What do you want?" They'll say, "Yeah, I want peace, I want happiness. I want the conflict in my home to go away. I want my health to improve. I want more money. I want fill in the blanks, right? I want." As I ask all of you who are listening, what do you want? You're going to give some kind of an answer. And what if I tell you that's not what you want? What if I tell you what you really want is the ending of wanting? You really wanted the ending of wanting, and you thought that more money or that new job or that new relationship or that new car or that new house or even something like happiness or even enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment will do that for you. But actually, what you want is the ending of wanting. So then the invitation is it accessible for 2 seconds? Let's try now. Is it accessible for 2 seconds? Can I take a vacation from wanting for just 2 seconds? How about 5 seconds? Most people can manage 2 seconds, 5 seconds. You can even be brave enough to go 10 seconds, 15 seconds. It's not about the length of time. It's about notice, huh? That felt good. That felt good. And it was very simple actually. It didn't involve the 100 or 1,000 things I have to do step by step to achieve that, whatever it was. Right? Even to achieve enlightenment seems very complicated, Like there are so many, you got to meditate, got to be grateful, got to say your mantras, not don't hurt anybody's feelings. Like can get really complicated. Be a good person, you know. But here we are. This is available. This did not ask any of those things from you. Here we are. It's right here. So the purpose of desire is the ending of desire. Why do you desire anything? Why do you desire a house? So you can get the house and stop desiring the house. Why do you desire to create this podcast? So that you can create the podcast and post the podcast and be done with the damn thing. You're done with it, right? That's why you want to create the podcast. So then you're done with the desire to create the podcast. And yeah, you may want to interview another guest and another guest. And at some point you'll say, okay, not done. Kafi kar liya, those 20 saal ho gaye, 30 saal ho gaye. We want the ending of wanting. So start with that. So what I would tell people is start with that. And maybe even glimpses of that. Maybe you can't cut through the whole thing all at once. But start with glimpses of that. So like when I come for a conversation like this, whatever concept I have for how it should go, you may have a concept, I may have a concept. First of all, become aware. What's the concept? What's the agenda? And would I be okay not getting it? Would I be okay it not happening, not going the way I planned? Something unclenches, something relaxes. Now one can be more natural. Because otherwise, I'm kind of hung up. Are we going to get there or not? You're kind of hung up. Are we going to achieve it? It's, high quality conversation. Are we going to get there or not? We were looking for a deep conversation. Is it happening or not? Am I doing a good job or not? Is Nithya showing up or not? You see, all of this would be. We're out of time and space. We're out of the matrix, actually. This is the biggest thing I learned from the Buddha's teachings, that what we're looking for is not in the display. What's the display? The display is everything you see, everything you hear, smell, taste, touch. In a movie screen, movie theater nowadays you even have those, I don't know what's called 4X or 5X. That not only is there a movie theater and there's of course sounds, but your seat is also rumbling.
They will throw water at you sometimes.
They'll throw water, yeah, exactly. They'll throw water at you and all kinds of things. Like there's a splash on the screen, and you'll also get water on you. So now just give it a few more years, and now there'll be smells also, and now you'll be fully into it also.
The VR and everything
The
is
VR and everything. So how different is it? I actually remember I was in Holland, I think. I was in one of the countries, and there was a VR headset, and there was a kind of a ride where you physically were in this kind of a contraption. And I literally felt like throwing up because I'm wearing this VR headset. I feel like I'm going down this enormous fall, and the body's getting the sensations like that. And I literally felt like throwing up. So the mind got fooled. But the mind is always getting fooled. The mind is always getting fooled that, okay, what I'm looking at. So I'm I'm going to look for it in the world of the scene. Here, sound, smell, taste, touch, thoughts. And what the Buddha and all the wise ones are telling us that no, not only that you'll not find it there, but what they're telling us actually is you've not lost anything. Why are you the Sufis say, you know, why are you going around this world like a beggar, seeking this and seeking that? This whole creation is there for you. What are you going around like a beggar for? Stop behaving like a beggar. So that's the idea that what is it like for a few moments to dehypnotize ourselves from the belief that that something needs to happen, either in the outer world or in the inner world, mental health, psychological health, even spiritual health, for me to be okay. Who would you be without that story? That's renunciation. You renounced a false idea that you've lost something. Now you can play much more freely in this world.
Yeah. It's totally more liberating, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Talking of liberation, there's another aspect that some of my friends have really struggled with, and they asked me to ask you this question. Loosening your identity, like not really holding tight to your identity, but one has to function in this world, right? So there's identity has a purpose to kind of how you show up. And the trouble begins when all notions, all the ideas start crumbling in your inner world. And, this who am I becomes like a constant background. And, you're questioning everything that you have ever understood, believed. So the identity is crumbling in so many ways. You still have to function and show up, you're a vice president of this company and you're a brilliant father, mother, whatever. Um, how to kind of deal with it?
No, I would counter question, is it really true that you're the one who's functioning? Or are you the one who's coming in the way of the functioning? Just examine your life. Examine your life from morning to evening. Are you the one who's breathing? Are you the one who's digesting? Are you the one who's thinking these thoughts? We have an average of 60,000, scientists tell us, 60,000 thoughts a day. Are you sitting and deciding what those 60,000 thoughts are going to be? Are you deciding what your desires are going to be, what you're not going to desire? What your hopes are going to be, what they're not going to be? Are you deciding those things? First of all, genetics, you and I are very clear that was never in our hands. They were the mixture of the mother and the father's genes, and here we are. So the shape of our nose, the height, the skin color, a lot of that is genetically based. Even you'll notice some attributes or traits you have, they may be genetically based. And then of course there's the nurture, which is the place you grew up, the culture, the society, the circumstances, the life experiences. Was that fully in your hands? Did you decide that? So then, are we really deciding this functioning? This, I would question the idea that, oh my goodness, how do I function without this? You have always functioned beautifully without this. It is your idea that I am in charge, that's the one. And now the one in charge is asking, tell me how to continue. Everything is dissolving now.
Yeah.
Oh, the thief is asking, how do we keep law and order? I'm sorry. The wrong one is asking. So the answer is be quiet.
Yeah.
Be quiet. Everything is happening the way it needs to happen. If you're feeling disoriented, then feel disoriented. Of course. When we go from school to college, we feel disoriented. When we go from college to a job, we get disoriented. When we go from being single to getting married, we get disoriented. So be disoriented. What's the problem? Why are you expecting not to be disoriented? That's just natural. You're resisting. You're resisting. What is that nice thing Scott Peck says? It is the denial. Like he said, life is difficult. Life is difficult, and neurosis is the denial of necessary suffering.
Yeah.
Neurosis is the denial of necessary suffering. There will be some suffering, and let's not assume life is going to be a cakewalk. There will be difficulties. We'll all face them.
Yeah.
And you're fully capable. Your ancestors have dealt with wars and famines and droughts and, being expelled from villages and being chased by wild animals. What you and I are facing is nothing compared to that. You're fully capable. We have all the intelligence within us to deal with it.
So in a way, it's just it's the last straws of kind of holding on to or
Well
sense
said.
of control, isn't it? Yeah.
Well
That
said.
this too is gonna go
I like
away.
to think of it as a fish. You've done fishing. You pull the fish out onto your boat. Now those last 5 minutes,
Oh my God.
this is what's happening. The person who's asking this question,
Mm.
I will say congratulations. You've come to that place where it's like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. This is not bad news. This is very good news. They call it the death rat. When a person is dying, it's called the death rattle. They make a rattling sound with their breath, or the death throat of a fish. It's
Mm.
good. Welcome it.
Yeah.
I would even say, I wish you more of that.
Wow. Um, One of the other aspects that Nithya comes to my mind when I kind of listen to you, or in one of your sessions, or whenever we've interacted, this playfulness around you. Osho has very rightly said that seriousness is a disease for the soul, and he kind of encouraged playfulness, and you can embody it. In fact, you name your workshop as Joy Shop. So, why do you think playfulness is so important?
Yeah, again, I would say don't try to be playful. Now that becomes a new programming. But yes, in my case, because now again, okay, now we're supposed to be playful. So the thing is, if it happens that you start to see the cosmic humor in all of this, like for example, a simple thing. Every next time you judge someone, you just add a few words. Say just like me. You're so selfish, just like me. It's actually true. You know? You're so stubborn, just like me. And those of you who are very self-critical, then Nitya, I can't say that either because I'm terrible on myself. Okay, then you say just like everyone. Ah, that's true. Just like everyone. So selfish, just like everyone. You know, so careless, just like everyone. Now that's an example of cosmic humor. You say, wow, that's actually is true. My judgment of others, if I look very honestly, I'll say, yeah, something in me also is there. There's some resistance I have there. So I would say as you realize that there is no evidence that life is, serious. It could just be a big joke for all you know. And of course, we all learn. Haven't you noticed? Look back in school, college, or whatever you've learned. The times you've learned fastest, chances are you were having the most fun. We learn when we are having fun, right? When a teacher or instructor makes it fun, then you fully lean into it. And because the biggest fear we have is I look stupid. I'll make a mistake. I'll look stupid. They'll all laugh at me, right? This is a big fear we have. But when everyone's laughing all the time in any case, then you don't mind doing something goofy in any case. Everyone's laughing. Everyone's like, at the most they laugh, and I'll also laugh, right? We laugh along with them. So these are some of the benefits of a playful attitude. Um, and at the same time, like I noticed, talking about playfulness, that can also become a defense mechanism. Like at some point, someone told me, Nithya, you make a joke out of everything, and maybe you're avoiding stuff. And I thought, yeah, there's a truth to it actually. That my humor and my fun-going, easygoing nature, lighthearted nature, is now a new mechanism to not deal with certain stuff. Everything's funny, everything you can laugh about. Which is why I say, don't be playful. Don't be anything. Don't be serious. Don't be playful. Just be. And the intelligence of where playfulness is required, playfulness will show up. And sometimes if someone's been through a really hard experience, you can't enforce, oh, come on, let's laugh now, let's go out. It's not, it's going to be violence in them. So then hold their hand and be serious and listen to them and let the things turn, let the energy turn by itself. And you'll be surprised how quickly it can turn, when you're just willing to be with the intelligence of the moment. So that's what I would say. See, if I take on this role of being playful, I notice it becomes a burden. Now in my next session, I have to make sure everyone's laughing all the time. I have to make sure I crack those jokes every time. Otherwise, I'm not living up to my name. No, just be. And maybe it's playful, maybe it's not. There's a lovely quote one of my friends told me. It goes like this: bound to no consistencies.
Yeah.
Other than that to be.
You talk about happiness and love in a very different way than how typically it shows up in the world. So yeah, I would like you to talk about it, and let's see if it makes sense.
When I experience things from my point of view, then either they are favorable or unfavorable. When I'm invested in a particular stock, let's say in the stock market, I'm invested in, let's say there's some steel company and I'm invested in that. Now, when the stock of that steel company goes down, my emotions also fluctuate based on that. The stock goes up, they fluctuate, right? Because I'm invested. So most of the time, what we are calling happiness is favorable things are happening, I'm happy. Unfavorable things are happening, I'm disturbed, I'm uncomfortable. Favorable things to my loved ones are happening, I'm happy. Unfavorable things, unwanted things are happening, I'm disturbed. And yet, if you look a little bit more deeply, in every situation, like even in, for example, a pandemic, Well, someone's happy in a pandemic. I mean, those people who are making masks were very happy, I'm sure. Those people who were selling those injections, some people became very rich selling those vaccines or whatever it is, right? Right. Some people even said that, it was a good time to be with family. So it's not like globally every single person was unhappy. Some people actually were happy. They actually enjoyed that break. But many people were unhappy. A war. Most people are quite unhappy, but there are people who are selling weapons are very happy. They're minting money over there. Right. Right. So the deeper point here is there is no event in this world that is automatically good or bad. It depends on the perspective. So the question you asked about happiness and love and those kind of things, I like to approach it from the perspective of totality. From the perspective of totality, like you and I are having this conversation right now. And would you agree the whole universe is supporting us being here? Of course, there's the sun, there's the moon, there's the earth. But then there are so many cosmic forces supporting the sun and the moon and the earth and the entire solar system, the entire galaxy. Things that you and I will never understand. There are countless factors. And of course, in a regional way, there's a relatively peaceful country and the electricity is going. And there are countless factors making this conversation possible right now. And of course, your body is reasonably in health. My body is reasonably in health. So many factors. The whole universe is right now enabling this conversation. From the perspective of totality, is anything missing? Is anything in excess? Does anything need to change? You might find there's nothing much to say because all our thoughts originate from the I perspective. How is it good for me, bad for me? Huh?
Yeah.
From the perspective of the atoms, from the perspective of the molecules, from the perspective of the galaxies, you suddenly find that it just is what it is. It just is what it is. Now that's the perspective. So I would say this is just another way of saying meeting without a story. When I meet myself without a story, that's meditation. When I meet you without a story, now I'm really meeting you. Otherwise, I'm superimposing my ideas on who I think you are and what I think you like and don't like, and what I can get out of you. That's an agenda. Personalities never love, they want something. Presence. Only in presence can there be love. Because in presence, there's a full receptivity, there's a full welcoming, there's a full acknowledgement. Right? There's a full receiving. There's not a manipulation there.
Yeah.
And we're not denying. So we will have a personal preference and a perspective. Let's not deny that. So the best answer I found came from Kashmir Shaivism. Kashmir Shaivism says three things.
Hmm.
I am somebody, I'm everybody, and I'm nobody. Now, can we come to that place where we understand all three are true? I am a somebody, and I am an everybody in some sense, and I'm a nobody. Or in other words, I am something, I'm everything, and I'm nothing. This is called Trika. Trika is the three, the triple infinity, the three infinities. The infinity of being a somebody. Even a somebody is a kaleidoscope only has a few pieces, but it makes infinite variety there. So there's a mind and body. And right here, there's an infinity of emotions, experiences, likes, dislikes. There's an infinity in this being a something. And of course, there's an infinity in the vastness of this world. There's everything. And there's an infinite depth to this nothingness, which cannot be defined, this mystery. If you talked about spirituality earlier, I would say that's spirituality. Spirituality is the recognition of this triple infinity. Simultaneously, I'm something, I'm everything, I'm nothing. You can't say it right, and you can't get it wrong.
Yeah. Love it. You can't say it right, you can't get it wrong. We look at everything through subjective lens, and sometimes it feels like we are living in parallel universes. On one hand, you would see a lot of social media addiction, attention deficit disorder. People are getting into, like, a lot of young people are into substance abuse and not able to hold conversations or relationship. It's really a big challenge. On the other hand, you would see a lot of people are more mindful of how they show up and meet. New communities are kind of cropping up where people want to live with each other in nature. many are asking the question, the pertinent question of who am I? And both these things are on the rise parallelly. So, do we really live in parallel universes all the time?
The view out is full of contradictions, polarities, diversity, like you said, these parallel universes. And yet, who is the one perceiving the parallel universe? Is that a parallel? Is that a multiplicity? Or is that a unity? And between this unity and the diversity, is there a wall? Is there a gap? Between everything I'm seeing, like, see, in my life, I've experienced so many things. You've experienced so many things. Everyone hearing this experienced so many things. And yet they've all happened to me to a singularity. When I was 10 years old, this happened. When I was 20 years old. So it happened to a singularity. And now, can you find a dividing line between all that happened, all that is happening, all that may happen? Can you find a dividing, like, let's just talk about now. Can I find a dividing line between what's happening and the one who's experiencing what's happening?
No, really. Yeah.
So it's a non-dual state. It's a non-dual experience. The ocean has countless waves, yet it's one ocean. So I have countless faces, and yet I am that one essence. The mind cannot get this. So mind says, no, either I am honest or I'm dishonest. Either I am reliable or I'm unreliable. Either I'm consistent or I'm inconsistent. Either I'm loving or I'm not. I'm kind or I'm not. Either I'm compassionate or I'm cruel. But that's not the reality. The deeper. This is why it's so disorienting. You were mentioning your friends earlier, because it's like, oh my God, I'm all of that. I'm selfish and I'm selfless. I'm spiritual and I'm materialistic. I'm playful and I'm serious. I'm deeply wise and I'm the most common fool. I'm the most naive, silly, stupid fellow, right? And I'm all of that at once. I'm super masculine and manly, and I'm super feminine and receptive and open in that way as well. And I'm a child and I'm that 90-year-old. You see? So this is and I'm all of that. And so it is actually stretching ourselves. Another way to define meditation, you could say, is you stretch yourself to accommodate the polarities. They call it holding space sometimes, but not even holding anything. It's just becoming the space in which all of this can coexist.
Yeah.
Then we can flow. The people who are so-called addicted to their phones and all of that. I am that one addicted to the phone. And I am that one who loves community and simple living. And I'm all of that. Now, when I'm with that teenager who's totally, I can see myself there. I don't judge them so much. Yeah, I see you. I know what it's like. It's easier to look at a video than deal with your emotions.
Right.
Or deal with the nonsense that's going on in the world, right? And on the other hand, so it's amazing. So suddenly it's like, I am that. I am you. Right?
You just spoke about the state of the world right now, Nithya, and I was meaning to kind of touch on that a little bit as well. We all live on planet and we are more interconnected than we sometimes, let admit it. And so much is going on. Wars are kind of waging more frequently. It can be too much sometimes. So while it's all playing out in a way, it's a drama that playing out, but it's a very horrific one. How one kind of anchors oneself and not be too caught up into it.
I honestly don't believe my thoughts when they tell me something's wrong with the world.
Okay.
So my experience is a lot of ease. My experience is a lot of trust. I find it's arrogant of me to assume that life is better than death. A long life is better than a short life. Dying suddenly in a terrorist attack or a bomb attack is somehow worse than dying slowly in a hospital bed with your loved ones around you. I just can't get myself to get to assume that that's necessarily true. And like I said, we discussed this earlier, reality is kinder than the stories we tell. See, you and I are sitting in comfortable, you seem to be sitting in a comfortable room, I'm sitting in a comfortable room. Reality is pretty good. Then we say, hey, but what about those terrorist attacks? But what about those bombs? And what about, and what are we doing? We're just messing it up. We're just coming up with some story, and now we're supposed to justify it somehow. I mean, we don't know. Come on, you don't know. I don't know. We have no idea, right? Let's be, very rationally. The benefits and the pleasures of life that you and I enjoy, most of these inventions have come after World War I and World War II. A lot of the safety, a lot of the world treaties and all have come after that tumultuous time. So how can you know that today's tumultuous time is not going to lead to some other breakthrough going forward? A lot of the lifestyle you and I enjoy, like for example, modern highways. Modern highways came out of the Cold War. Cold War, the US designed highways that planes could land anywhere, because you can bomb airstrips, but you can't bomb an entire highway system. So they designed these long, straight highways, right? And then, of course, they designed all those flyovers and all those things where you didn't have to have a traffic light, right? So this came out of the world wars. This was just one example of what came out of the world wars. So look deeply and you find that there is it all lines up, but it doesn't line up when you look at it from the perspective of Pracheta and Nithya. If you imagine you're a body and mind, and if I imagine I'm a body and mind, we are in big trouble. And we are actually, it's true. The water is poisoned and the food you don't know what's going into, and the politics is like this, and who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, and who can you trust? It's actually very true. But the good news is that's an appearance. Like you said, one thing is that we share the planet, we're on the planet. I'll say, no, we're not on the planet. The planet is on me. This body is on me. I'm serious. Unless I wake up, there's no planet in the morning. There's no planet. I have to be there for there to be a planet. So you see, this is another example of the first person perspective. We are told we depend on a peaceful country and a good government. And yeah, in some sense we do. But in the deeper sense, we don't. The planet depends on us. The galaxy depends on us. The universe depends on us. What you see in a microscope, that microorganisms, they depend on my looking through the microscope. Otherwise, they're not there. They're as good as they don't exist. Yeah. This is a very powerful recognition. Life is not happening to me. Life is happening for me. Life is happening as me. Life is just happening. We're back to totality again. From the perspective of totality, is there a problem? It's only a problem from your and my perspective, right? And that too, when we think about it, as you rightly said, we are talking right now. If someone is bombing a city, we have no clue unless we kind of. I didn't get that news report. I'll tell you, I used to live in Sri Lanka. And whenever I'd come to India, they'll say, oh my goodness, Sri Lanka, LTT, this. I said, no, that's not my experience. I lived in a part of Sri Lanka where there was no bombing. There was something happening in the north of Sri Lanka. But where I lived, there was no such thing happening. We were living peaceful lives. But the news that would go out was not monks had a peaceful meditation today. The news that went out, so many people died, this tank was attacked, this terrorist attack happened. All right. Look at your newspaper. Pick up the newspaper today. See what's made the news. So a conversation, are you enjoying a conversation, by the way? Yes, of course. It's not going to come in the news tomorrow. But if I take out my clothes and start dancing, and if I do something stupid like that'll come in the news right away, right? That'll right away come in the news. This is the kind of stuff that makes the news, because the people have figured out that which is unusual, that which is ridiculous, that which is going to catch our eyes, that's going to make us stop on the street and look. That's what's going to sell the newspapers. That's what's going to sell the magazines. They're not going to tell you about all the peaceful things that are happening, all the heroic things that are happening, all the loving things. So it's a problem to look at the world through a lens of what's being told to us through newspapers. There's an agenda there. Yeah. So when you start looking through the eyes of your heart, you discover a completely different world. It's a world that's completely in harmony. Even being eaten, like you would think, an animal being eaten by another animal, horrific. Turns out we have a system that sends us into shock. Like, for example, people who've had an accident will often say, I didn't feel anything. Until 6 hours later, then I felt, oh my God, my back is... 6 hours, they didn't feel anything. What? The body went into shock. The body went into shock. They didn't feel a thing. Life is so kind. When you're being eaten alive, you don't feel a thing. Reality is kinder than the stories we tell. The suffering is not physical. There was a person, a Jewish man, who was taken and tortured by the Nazis. And he wrote in his memoir that those weeks of being in prison and being tortured was not the hardest part. The hardest part was when his wife sent him a letter, and the guards gave him the letter. That's when he broke down, because it reminded him of the way his life used to be. All those weeks, he'd actually gotten used to it, being tortured and all that. He got used to it. Okay, this is my life now. But when the letter came, the contrast of that, it's the contrast that's painful.
Mm.
So when you contrast what's happening in the world with how your idea of how the world should be is, now you're in pain. But if you just see it for what it just is what it is. I mean, what do you expect? When countries spend billions of dollars stockpiling weapons, at some point they either have to use it or they're going to expire, right? Like,
Yeah.
when you look in your fridge and say, I think it's going to expire, might as well use it. Let's
Yeah.
do some mayhem somewhere, right? That's
Yeah.
just the way it works, right? It's the way of things. So then we
Yeah.
don't get so hung up about it.
Yeah. We can absolutely flip it. Like now that you're saying it, it kind of make me look at it the other way around. Even if there's all the peace in the world and there no wars going on, is it a possibility that everyone will be absolutely happy and joyful all the time? Would we not create our own stories of relationship or hardship or whatnot? Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great question you asked. It's so true. And you and I are not in a war zone. You and I are not in a place with great deprivation. You and I are relatively secure, comfortable. We're not worrying about our next meal or even a meal of a month from now. So, and there are very few people in the world can actually say this. Are you and I free of all the terror, all the fear? Or no, we're not. No, we're not. Our mind is terrorizing us. Outer circumstances are not terrorizing us. Let's find the real culprit.
Mm.
Buddha discovered the culprit. The Buddha said, this is the culprit. The culprit is this thirsty wanting the next thing, never content, wanting the next thing. That'll do it. That'll do it. No, it's not going to do it. You never even lost it. You're looking for something you're not even lost. It's like you're looking for your glasses with your glasses on your head. Has that ever happened? Your
Yes.
glasses on your head. Looking, where's my glasses? Looking for your phone while talking. Where's my phone? You're holding your phone, damn it. That's what our situation is.
Yeah.
So this so-called spirituality is just this much. Wake up to what you never even lost. Realize that there wasn't a problem to begin with. I want to share this quote I got the other day, which I think is simple and nice. And so hear this, and I invite everyone to hear this. Just be with us for a few seconds. What is here now when there's no problem to solve? What is here now when there's no problem to solve? Can we be content with this? Or do we have to create drama? No, but Nithya, but what about this? But what about my kids? But what about, huh? So we become addicted to creating drama. First of all, there's the tension of drama, then the resolution. Oh, nothing happened. It's fine. We're safe. Then again, drama. Then again, oh, it's okay. We made it. So do you have to always go on a roller coaster ride?
Yeah.
Or can you just enjoy walking on the street? You know,
Yeah.
Thich Nhat Hanh said the miracle is not walking on the sky or walking on water. The miracle is walking on earth with each step, right? Aware of each step. That's the miracle. The miracle is walking on earth. So in my journey, I've realized maybe in the beginning it was some looking for some peak experience. Now it's just about the valley. It's about the valley experience. Right? In fact, it's not even any experience actually.
So does this happen sometimes that oh, it's been a long, lovely span of no experiences? You consciously create some drama just to have the fun of it.
I mean, in my own way, I do, and my version of that is I get interested in these days. I'm interested in chess, for example. So I'm reading a lot of chess books, and I've got myself a new chess set and stuff. So that's and I find that quite sweet and cute and innocent. That's what keeps me, keeps a part of my being fascinated and interested. So I'm learning something. Like I have various hobbies and interests. So that's my version of it. And yes, at some level, that's also a subtle restlessness. And okay, so what's the big deal? So that's the way I am. Why do I have to be like someone who's got, why? Let me be that. This is the way it is right now for me.
Right now is the operating world. Like this is the way it is right now. It might not
This
be
is the way it's
tomorrow.
showing up. This is the way
Yeah.
it's showing up. Otherwise, no, I shouldn't. And no, I should be meditating all the time. And I should be sharing my knowledge with the world. The world needs this knowledge. Oh my goodness, I need to start a big organization. I need to organize a big TED talk. Why? Okay, do it if you want to, but you don't have to. I mean, come on. There's a big assumption there that something needs to be fixed, something needs to be improved. Like, I love to give people permission, more than teachings permission. I give you permission to be restless. I give you permission to be depressed. I give you permission to be angry. I give you permission to be unable to forgive. I give you permission to be a terrible mom, terrible dad, terrible husband, terrible wife. Give you permission. Wow, something just relaxed there. You didn't even realize it. Oh, I was holding myself. I give you permission to get it wrong. I give you permission to be inconsistent. I give you permission to get inspired by this talk and not practice a word of what you heard. You see what that's done? It's doing something very deep over there. Whole sense of I need to learn, I need to understand, I need to practice, I need to do it consistently, I need to get somewhere. That's the illusion of being the doer, the illusion of being the knower, the illusion of being the one who makes decisions. It's just happening. This talk is just happening. Those who are attracted to it will just show up. Those who need to get something out of it will just get something out of it.
It kind of feels complete to me, Nitya. Like I might have had some other questions, but it doesn't feel right to ask them because we kind of distill the essence of what is, and doesn't feel right to ask some more trivial questions. Would there be any parting pearls of wisdom, or another of your famous quote, the way you would like to end our conversation with?
More than pearls of wisdom, let's just be quiet for a few seconds. And I invite people who are with us also. You can have your eyes open or closed. Just let everything settle. You are not who you've been told you are. You're not who you think you are. You're not defined by your body or your thoughts or your habit. In fact, you cannot be defined. Because you cannot be defined, you cannot be confined. Could it be that what you're actually wanting is the end of wanting, not this or that specific thing? Could it be that what you're seeking, you never lost in the first place? That was just like a dream where you imagine that something terrible has happened. But nothing's been lost. Could it be that this world and this body and this mind are superimpositions onto you, projected onto you? They're not actually you. Could it be that you don't need to direct this movie? You don't even need to like this movie. You don't even need to be interested in this movie of life. Let the movie go in whatever direction it needs to go. You can't do this wrong. Would you be willing to be quenched of all your thirst without the requirement of any special practice, any special initiation, any special grace, any special experience? Would you be willing to trust the process and allow it to unfold in whatever way it has to unfold? And so it is. And so it is. And so Tathast.
Thank you, Nithya. Thank you so much. It's just been a amazing conversation. I totally thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure it will reach to whosoever it's meant to reach in their own time. And yeah, thanks once again for trusting me with this.
Thank you, Pracheta, and all my good wishes.
Thank you, Nithya. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. That was our episode on the Ultimate Inquiry. See you next time.